Ursula K. Le Guin had created some really interesting worlds. Some of her works are definitely all about the story, and the entire setting is tailored to support the plot, but others feel like she built a world and then used her writing skills to provide a window into that world. People often say that your world building should be like an iceberg, with most of it being hidden from view, acting as an invisible foundation underneath the little bit of world building that the audience gets to see. But with a book like The Dispossessed, for example, it felt like Le Guin just attached rockets to that iceberg and made the whole thing hover over the surface of the water in all its glory. A massive chunk of that book is just pure world building, all rendered in beautiful prose. And then there's Always Coming Home, which is a fantasy ethnography about the people called the Kesh, who inhabit the valley of the River Na in a post-apocalyptic California. A healthy chunk of the book is straight-up information, such as maps, kinship trees, descriptions of ritual dances, the Kesh alphabet, a 13-page glossary of various Kesh words, 2 pages of sheet music in case you'd personally like to sing the songs of the Kesh, and write-ups about all sorts of things that are part of life in the Na Valley. But most of the book consists of the stories of the Kesh. The longest story is an autobiography of a woman called Stone-Telling, and it takes up 100 pages. There's 40 pages of shorter autobiographical stories, and then there are romantic tales, historical accounts, an excerpt from a Kesh novel, a few stories that get told aloud, a few stage plays, and 30 pages of poetry. Which is not surprising, because Le Guin was a writer, and her writing skill was a great tool at her disposal. Each story and poem in Always Coming Home provides a little window into the world she created, and shows the Kesh looking at themselves in the stories they tell. That in particular is really interesting to me, because the way a culture portrays itself in stories can be very telling, and writing down stories of an imaginary culture might be a more effective way of displaying their attitudes towards other people and the world at large than just writing a description of those attitudes. And from my experience as a world builder, those descriptions often come out feeling quite inadequate, like I tried to catch a cloud and most of it escaped, but Le Guin successfully captured the cloud, or maybe she just created an illusion of having captured it, as a storyteller does. And she showed a little bit of the neighbors of the Kesh as well. One of my favorite stories in the book is The Trouble with the Cotton People. The Kesh trade wine for cotton with people from the south, and after receiving a few low-quality cotton shipments, a few men from the Na Valley set out on a journey to their land. There they get things sorted and go back home. It sounds really mundane, but I loved that little story. It was a wonderful little window into Le Guin's imaginary future California. And in the longest story in the book, a Kesh woman talks about how, as a teenager, she traveled north to live with her father's people. They are a patriarchal, warlike society, and pretty much a caricature, which reminded me of The Dispossessed, where the big anarchist commune on the moon was very nuanced and well thought out, while the unequal society it was contrasted with felt really flat, not because unequal societies don't exist, but because they also tend to have some nuance and depth to them. To be fair, there are plenty of writers who present caricaturish patriarchal societies with absolutely no irony whatsoever, and their readers do not mind. And for Le Guin, it might have been a conscious choice, in order to make sure that the reader will not like the society they should not like, or maybe as a bigger statement about how unequal societies have not earned the right to be treated with nuance. My approach to world building is like that of a kid in a playground. While Le Guin always had a message she was out to convey, but I never create worlds I would actually like to live in. Every world I have ever created has had this unease hanging over it in one form or another. It's especially obvious with my world inside an egg, with the giant bird consuming the sun, people's imminent doom hanging right above their heads. And I think it's because I feel uneasy about the world in which I live, and thus need that unease for worlds I create to ring true to me. But while Le Guin's negative societies tend to feel really flat, this is not the case with the positive ones. She was the daughter of 2 anthropologists, and anthropology pretty clearly informed her world building, giving her the tools to build a believable conculture. And if you have read The Lave of Heaven, then you know that Le Guin did not believe that a perfect society could possibly exist. Her utopias are never actually utopian, not in a silly, oh, there's a dark side to it all way, but in a very thoughtful and nuanced way, so I never need to search all that hard to find that bit of unease that makes an imaginary culture feel real to me. Ursula K. Le Guin was an awesome world builder, and she not only built worlds to support her stories, but also wrote stories to showcase her worlds. So regardless of whether or not you are setting out to write a 500-page tome detailing your conculture, her works are definitely worth a read.